Welcome back, everyone. Special episode of, well, I mean, all the episodes are special. But maybe I use the word special here because in this episode, we actually got a chance to talk to not just a special professor, but a student who was and is a student of that professor. And I don't want to give away the plot here, but for me, my visit to Aubrey College, where Dr. Aubrey Sirman is from, it was a reminder of why I love education, why education is so valuable, right? It is a mechanism by which anybody, literally anybody in the world, can enjoy and have a chance at some real mobility, right? And this is something I really want to encourage people not to lean away from. And what Aubrey College is doing, their model and what they're focusing is very, very special. And I'm not going to tell Dr. Sirman's story for her, but I hope you enjoy the ways in which not just what she's done and what the school has done, but what her student has enjoyed as a part of the process. I want to go to Aubrey College because that's how I met one of my wonderful guests today, Dr. Aubrey Sirman, who's a professor of biology here, and she's next to a kind of a nervous-looking student who apparently was only told yesterday that she was talking to a loud Caribbean dude. So Angie,
I actually didn't even go that far.
You didn't go that far.
No, I was just like, I have a colleague. Yes. So she had no idea.
You have risen to the level of colleague, Angie. But it's great, man. It's great. I think you actually might be, now that I'm thinking about it, you are the first time I've had a student.
Oh, really?
No. Second time. I've had a student on the podcast, right? And so this means a lot. We talk a lot about transformative education, but the sort of understood part of that sentence is that one of the lives we hope to transform through this process are the lives of people who choose to come to our institution. So thanks for being at Aubrey. Thanks for being on the podcast. Tell us your name and where you're from, Angie.
My name is Angie Catalina Aguilar. I'm from Colombia, Bogota, and I'm a first-year student here.
First-year student, okay,
Yes.
okay. So first year meaning this is the end, coming up to the end of your second semester?
Yes.
Okay. Did you come directly from Bogota?
Yes.
Okay.
I came here to United States almost like 2 years ago.
Okay.
So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
All right.
I'm new here.
Okay. How do you like Aubrey so far?
It's great.
Okay.
I feel like Aubrey has like a good community,
Mm-hmm.
and it has like support for everyone.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if you need like help, you can ask, and they won't judge you or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So
Okay, I want to circle back to that, but I think the listeners need some context. And Aubrey, I'm going to ask you as best as you can. I know you didn't create the college, right?
Did not create
But
the
I know
college.
you are aware of the origin story of Aubrey College. It's a
Yes.
very unique model. So when Angie talks about being able to ask for help and everyone's so responsive, there are many, many other universities who do that. I get that, but there is something particular about what you have constructed. So why don't you tell us about how Aubrey was founded, how it was set up, and then where we are today.
Yeah. So my understanding,
Mm-hmm.
because like you were saying, I kind of came into this a little bit later. I was not at Aubrey at the beginning of its inception. I came to Aubrey in 2019, and we still had kind of our original founding dean, Father Katsuras. And
So it was founded just before that,
it
basically?
was founded in 2015,
Okay.
I believe. So, it had been working on about almost 4 or 5 years by the time I got hired. And my understanding was basically this program was kind of meant to kind of ease students into college. There were students who wanted to go to college that weren't necessarily prepared for the 4-year system, and I do feel
for whatever reason.
or for whatever reason,
Yeah,
it could be
yeah.
anything. And so this college was kind of meant as a way to kind of prepare them for kind of the rigor of the 4-year system while also still being college.
Right,
We
right.
didn't want it to be this bridge program.
Yeah.
Exactly. We still wanted it to very much feel like college, And I think like it does kind of branch from some of that community college model because we do have also very like strict times that students take classes. So there's a little bit less variety that normally comes, I think, with like community colleges.
Okay.
So it's definitely meant to be more of a structured program. And
Tell me more about that structure. So you said particular times when they take classes.
Yes.
Are they taking these classes in cohorts? Is it sort of explained to them at the beginning? Is there kind of a method to that structure?
We do have a cohort model. So we have students that are considered in the morning cohort and some that are in the afternoon cohort. Angie, which one are you? Do you remember?
Morning.
You're in the morning cohort. So like,
do you regret that choice?
sometimes they do. No. Sometimes they can also break the cohort depending on their schedule. So that's why I asked because she might have a morning class with me, but also still be considered afternoon.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So, but anyway, we do have a cohort model. So coming into like the fall, students kind of choose whether they want to take the morning classes or the afternoon classes. I'm trying to. What was the second part of that question?
Well, I think there was no real second part. I think it was more the origin story and leading up to now, which is what I think you're doing. But let me use this break to zero in on the cohort thing, right?
Yes.
So I'm thinking that part of the benefit of having a cohort model is you build community among the students because they're in the battlefield, with all due respect to the teachers who are teaching them, together.
They do.
Was that the thinking, and is there anything else that Arupe does to sort of reinforce that sense of community?
So I think that was in part the thinking. And another thing that Arupe does is we don't have classes on Wednesdays.
Okay.
And I know part of the original thinking with like the no Wednesday thing / the cohort model was that if students had jobs that were like outside of the university, they would still kind of be able to do those like part-time jobs. So if you're in the morning cohort, you could have like an afternoon job. And you would always kind of be guaranteed that your classes could exist in the morning, for example. Right. So I think that was like some of the thinking on like why we had this cohort model. In addition to like, the students do build bonds with folks that are in their cohorts because they see them all the time.
How many credits a student might be taking?
So in the original model, 12 credits a semester, basically. So just kind of to get you to full time. And they take essentially 6 credits in the summer to get through the 2 years with the appropriate amount to graduate. I will say since then we have kind of extended this a little bit where students have a few more options to take more classes than they need in the semester. So like they can take up to like 15 no questions asked. It used to be kind of like you had to, get permission to kind of take more than what you needed. But now I think it's become a little bit more regular for some of those students. Right. Which we're seeing as like a way to help also prepare them, potentially moving on to their next college program.
Because their next college would be maybe a higher load or...
Exactly.
Right. I know you mentioned to me offline that you joke that when you go to conferences or workshops and I ask you what department you're from, it's funny because you don't have departments.
We don't
you are
have
just
departments.
one group of faculty. My department is my college is my department. Any more questions?
Yeah.
So how does that like shake out for the students though? Like that, are they majors?
Oh yeah. This would be great to get a student perspective because I know what I would answer as a faculty advisor.
Okay, well, let's turn it to Angie.
But I'm also curious what a student would answer.
So,
Angie, do you have a major?
I do.
I do question mark. Right?
Yeah, I feel like actually this is a really common answer. I question mark.
Yeah, it's because it's weird. So my degree is supposed to be liberal arts. Concentration in pre-STEM.
Oh, see? She answered it
Concentration in what?
Pre-STEM.
Pre-STEM.
Pre-STEM, okay.
Pre-STEM, yes.
So
A+ answer.
Is my understanding that probably everybody's degrees in liberal arts with a concentration in different things or no? Okay. I'll go for 2 here. Go on.
I don't remember the name, but there is other like degrees, which is like business. Right?
There's a business, yep.
Business.
The next one is the tough one. It's got a longer name.
Oh my god, I don't know. Wait.
You can test out the final here, Angie.
It's okay.
Don't let me down.
Also, she doesn't have to worry about this. She knows her own pre-major.
Yeah.
We call them pre-majors.
Yes.
Okay.
So these, like, when she said liberal arts pre-STEM is the pre-major. But we don't actually have majors. So, like Angie was saying, her degree, when she gets it, will be liberal arts.
Okay.
The other one that we have is social and behavioral science. Yeah, that's why I was like, it's a longer
Yes.
name. Social behavioral science, and we have a business
Okay.
degree.
Okay.
So, social behavioral science and liberal arts, they each have these kind of like pre-majors, which you can kind of think of it as just like a track for students to
Right.
kind of follow. Since
Right.
Angie wants to do pre-STEM, then we're suggesting she also take like Bio 1 and 2 and Chem 1 and 2 and Calc,
Yeah.
potentially up to Calc 2, because that would all prepare her for a future
Okay.
STEM degree.
Okay.
But there are a bunch of others. We have a psychology one, we have a criminal justice.
Is it pre-psych?
Nope, it's
Just liberal
just
studies.
psychology.
Okay.
Yeah, I know, it's kind of weird. But yeah, so yeah, we have psychology, we have criminal justice, we have, there's a communications, English, history, so,
Okay.
yeah.
So Angie, I would love to hear. I would love for you to walk us from summer of 2025, or maybe even before that, right? When you were thinking about where to go to college, if to go to college, because I'm thinking back to Aubrey's definition of who Aubrey's target audience tends to be, right? What drew you here? What made this an attractive option? And what's the experience been like since you've been here?
So my path to come here, it was kind of tricky because I'm like, as I told you before, I'm a first year student, low income and immigrant. So I have like all the qualities to not to go to like a 4-year school. So I was thinking to go to how's it called? The Chicago. I forget. I'm sorry.
No apologize.
Maybe another way, like, how did you hear about...
No, well, I think you're trying to remember. You were thinking to go to another school, right?
Yes, you were
like
trying to go
a
to
Chicago
another
Community
school,
College
another
or something?
City
Yes.
colleges?
A city college.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
Yes,
okay.
a city college.
Can I
was
buy
like-
a vowel?
Which is like, yeah.
Yeah, you're thinking about another community college.
Yeah. Okay.
Which is kind of like Arupe. But I decided to go here because I know there is more support to immigrant students than in city college. So that's why I was like, oh, okay, this is great. Like, I was expecting that I was supposed to meet like people like me, kind of. So yeah, and
Did you?
yes, yeah. I have found several people who are like their stories are similar.
Yeah.
It's not the same,
Yeah.
but
yeah.
I can find like, how do you say, like support.
Yeah,
Kind of.
you found your community.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's why, basically.
Yeah. So, I'll tell you partly why I'm curious, right? So I think I mentioned to you offline that I'm from Trinidad. I wouldn't say we were super low income, but I would say we were definitely not high income. We were, working class family, right? And as you probably know from living in Colombia, the exchange rate is such that, if your family is still back in your home country, what it takes to get a single US dollar makes paying college tuition pretty much impossible, right? If you're relying on finances from your home country to do it, right? So the only way I could have come to the US to study was on a full scholarship, right? Unfortunately, that's what I got. I studied in Atlanta. But I shared many of the traits that you just described in that we were semi-low income. I'm a first-generation college student. And I'm an immigrant. I think Morehouse had a very nice pathway for that. But once you're on campus, community was I think difficult would be harsh, because it's not like, I'm not saying the school was bad or they didn't care or anything. It's not that. It's that it was diverse, right? And that, a lot of the students were US born, many were wealthy, some were, it's sort of all over the place, right? And when you're 19 and you yourself trying to figure out what you're feeling as you're navigating this new place. I know at the time I didn't even know where to begin to find my community, right? It sounds like, and tell me if I'm right about this, like you kind of walked in here and it was sort of right in front of you. I mean, maybe it didn't fall into your lap, right? But you were quickly able to identify people who didn't have your same origin story, but at least understood what your path was.
Yeah. So here is like during high school there is like a presentations of like the university itself. So they were showing like the percentage of the students.
Okay.
Like the
So
race.
Rupia came to your high school. Okay.
Yes, and that's why I knew what to expect here. Like what
Was
community.
Isabel your presenter?
Yes.
Yeah.
And also
Isabel does a
Isabel is
great job.
apparently somebody who works here who is not currently on the podcast. Okay.
And also,
There's only two of them. Pick an option. But I think she does a really great job, I think, messaging to students.
Okay.
Also, one of the things that I like here is, for example, in the financial part, they can help you with a full scholarship. As I have a full scholarship. That's why I'm studying.
I know. Hey, I know what time it is.
And also, even if you have like some spendings outside of the the budget, you can ask if there is like any help, and they will help you.
Yes.
Because they have the money.
Yes.
So
we do additional support that is outside of tuition.
Okay.
We just call it like non-tuition assistance, and it can cover anything pretty much, like textbooks, food sometimes. We have a food pantry. We have like all these extra things in addition to just providing discounted tuition or, in this case, full tuition.
Yeah. I mean, this is a question you probably can't answer, but I'll ask it anyway. As I do with every podcast, I do some background reading on the conversation I'm about to have, and I understand the European model. I'm really impressed with the wraparound support. And every time I read through a different article about it, I'm like, how isn't it that 900 students aren't trying to break down the door to get into the space? Well, especially with the cost of college today, right? I mean, and so, because I know you're a little bit space limited with downtown Chicago, right? Real estate out here is pretty expensive, and Loyola, I'm sure, supports the Urupe project very well, but it can be unlimited. But 98% of students that graduate debt free. I mean, that's almost unheard of.
Yeah. I mean, I think some of it. There's a couple of things. I will say, so I did mention earlier that we only have like these 3 degree programs. So as far as like kind of what we offer in terms of programs, it is definitely more limited. Like City Colleges has a lot more, and I'm sure, Angie, when you were looking, they had like a whole list, right, of things. So I think like that might be part of it too. And this is you have to want kind of this very specific, I think, like high touch, like experience, which I think like could be part of that, But as far as like the rest of it, I don't even know. I think. I mean,
I'm not doubting you,
this
and
is
I'm not
a conversation. I think for admissions though, because I feel like maybe they would know.
I know
more.
Yeah,
because it does sound like a great deal though.
Right, and high touch models, almost by definition, would have to have a cap because there's only so much humans you could have. But I'll betray my bias here because you like you're saying other, with all due respect to city colleges, they have all these options and people can get attracted to that, right?
Right.
But
Angie, a specific program.
Angie, you may or may not know this. Like some of the original universities, colleges, the whole curriculum was Latin.
Yeah.
And the idea was being able to learn this should be able to transfer your thinking skills to anything, right?
Thank goodness we're not.
Thank God we moved on from that project. But my point is, I actually still believe a little bit in the spirit of that. In that, 18 to 22, assuming that's the ages you choose to
Yep.
go to college, you don't need to specialize as much as people think they need to specialize, right?
I agree.
And this is and so because people have that feeling, then they're looking for the
Exactly.
place with 25 different
Exactly.
programs, right? And this is not an anti-workforce argument. This is not a it's none of that. No, it's not that. It's a pro thinking argument, right?
Yes.
Like, what does it mean to become a thinker and a lifelong learner, and trust or believe or be explained to that those skills could really take you into any career very meaningfully, right? Yeah,
That's my only hypothesis.
yeah,
Is that we're not as specialized and we're
Yeah.
really high touch, and if you're, I guess, not interested in that, then I can see you being like, maybe this isn't what I want.
this isn't for you.
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you, Aubrey, because and I'm not sure how much you've discussed with Angie about your own origin story, right? But you and
A
I.
little bit. I do a little introductory stuff
Yeah.
in class, but not a ton.
Well, you and I, both academics, read in the U.S. system, and I've known you from other professional situations, so you know how I feel about what we don't do to future faculty to get them ready to be effective in the classroom. But I think that in the same way you said, this model is very particular, and as students have to look at this and want to be a part of this.
Yep.
I think faculty and staff also have to look at this and want this
Agreed.
type of professional structure.
For
So
sure.
I'm curious as to what brought you here, and maybe to kind of tell us a bit about how it's impacted your approach to teaching, your approach to education,
Yeah.
thoughts on just general social stuff.
This will be kind of fun because I think other faculty have a more inspirational story. And I feel like my story...
This doesn't have to be.
No. I
inspirational.
think this will be
Yeah.
good because I think my story is maybe like a little less inspirational in that realm, and I think it's kind of like why I stay here, right? So, like you, I went through bachelor's, I got my master's in basically molecular physiology. I did hormone work with mice, and then I took that to North Dakota State and I did more hormone stuff with birds, which is actually more of my background is in bird work. And then after my PhD, I had not intended to do a postdoc. And then Angie, since you're kind of new to this, most faculty will do a postdoc after their PhD if they are intending to stay on this tenure track kind of path. And I say tenure track, that's all the other professors, not necessarily the ones here at Rupe, but most of the other professors at the university who are doing research, they're on what's called the tenure track path. And so I never actually wanted to do that. I know.
For people who can't see this, Angie just looked at Aubrey what are we speaking about right
Yeah, and I had no desire to run a research lab and do teaching. That was not my desire. And I didn't even necessarily know exactly what I wanted to do after my PhD. I had done a lot of teaching as a teaching assistant during my PhD. I did like it, I don't know if I could say I was called to teaching though. I feel like you had a really strong oh man, teaching is literally what I'm supposed to do. And I think I had more, I enjoyed mentoring students. I had enjoyed my time as a teaching assistant, and I had enjoyed research. I feel like it was, I just knew I didn't want to run a lab. I was that is not for me. And then, so I moved to Chicago specifically because my late husband actually lived there. And I was I'm just going to move there and I'm going to figure it out. And so that is actually why I came to Chicago initially. And then I applied at Rupe because the job description was hey, we need a 1-year person to teach some intro classes. And I was you know what I can do? I can do that. And so I applied as just a 1-year visiting professor, contract basically. And when I got there, you get thrown into teaching. I did really enjoy the actual environment that Rupe has kind of set up. So this idea of being really high touch with students, getting to know them a little bit more personally than I had known them, in my previous like roles, because I taught this like concepts of biology course like at North Dakota that had like 400 students in it.
Wow.
So like I didn't.
As a TA?
It's a non-major, yeah, as a TA.
Oh, wow,
I got to
because-
be instructor of record. It was
Okay,
great.
that's what I'm saying. Because
Yeah.
normally in STEM, they only let you do labs.
Yeah, I got to do.
400.
Yeah, it was a big.
Whew.
It was a big auditorium. The
Uh-huh.
non-major biology class. I didn't know any of those people personally. Like, no way. And so, like, when I got here, you know, like that's what I got to do for like, you know, a whole year was like do that, and then, you know, I feel like part of staying in academia too is having the fates align. And so they happened to be offering a 3-year contract, which would have been like this current position, because we're on these like rotating contracts. And that is definitely a more permanent position. And so I did apply for that one. And then, of course, COVID happened. So that was a whole thing. But yeah, and so here I am now.
Well,
Many years
what
later.
What was the whole thing with? I mean, it's the whole thing
Yeah,
with
well,
everybody.
it's
but
basically
what was your version of the whole thing?
Well, it kind of happened during my second semester of that one
Yeah,
year.
in 2019 you started, which means, yeah.
So like I applied for the 3-year, and then we all like went online. It was wild.
Yeah.
And I finished up my 1-year contract all online. Started this current job online. You know, and so like that was a transition.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so basically, now that I've been here, you know, a few more years after that, I have really enjoyed the community that Arupe has. I enjoy working with my coworkers. I feel like they all have the students' interests in mind, even if, you know, normal stuff occurs. You have students that don't like certain professors for whatever reason, all that normal stuff.
Like
but,
how Angie feels about you.
right, exactly. Angie's like, no.
Took you a while though, right?
But I will say I could feel that most students will actually agree that like all the professors definitely like care about them and their success. Like whether or not you enjoyed their class or not.
Yeah.
They might have ended biology being like, this is the worst class I've ever taken. But I think they won't end it thinking like I didn't care about them. We'll put it that way. And so like that's my story. Like that's why I'm still here, and I think the culture of the college is really nice. It's really student centered. And like that's the part I really enjoy. I also enjoy mentoring students and telling them about my path, which I think is like one of the perks of that job is helping guide students like to wherever they want to go.
Right.
So that's my
Not
not
to-
so inspirational.
I think that's very
story.
inspirational. You shut your mouth. So not to emphasize, you know, instructors in other types of institutions, right? But
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I know for a fact you go to conferences a lot, you go to workshops, and
Yep.
so you meet, and just in general, you have colleagues who are not Arupe faculty,
Yes.
who are working in very different, I dare say, more traditional morals. In fact, like right up the street, right on Loyola University main campus.
I do.
I'm curious as to, you know, maybe you're not sitting down and making an active comparison with them, but you almost can't help think about your situation and the nature of the students you work with, the way your job is structured versus, I don't know, another person who has 400
Well,
students
and certainly
teaching human
if you're
bio.
on the tenure track too,
Right,
and
right.
you're also doing research in addition to teaching, I know that can be really tough to put in the focus like on teaching when you're
Right.
expected to also be writing a ton of grants and managing a lab and
Yeah.
you know stuff like that. And of course, like if you have 400 students,
Right.
I mean, when I was teaching that class, I thought I taught it in a way that was the best you could possibly have done.
You mean the 400?
Like with 400 students, yeah. You know, but like, you know, there was no way that I was going to be able to know them.
Yeah.
Like, or if I was going to know them, it was going to be for a not good reason. You know, like, as in you keep showing up on the list,
Right.
the not good list. You know, so I do kind of value that here.
Yeah.
Is the fact that I do get to know every student. And I do know who they are, and it's not just because they're on a list that you're like, oh no, that's not a great list to be on.
Let me be more specific. Because you said it a couple of times
Oh, yeah.
that one of the most beautiful things is how you get to know them.
Yeah.
In the 7 years, almost 7 years you've been here, what are some of the things in getting to know them that you've learned about your students that has been a great learning experience for you?
Yeah, I think for some of that is really like you learn some personal things about their lives. They I think Arupe students in general are really awesome about like just telling you what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I think before, as like an educator with those 300 students, if a student had emailed me needing flexibility, I'm not saying I wouldn't have given it, but I'm saying like I might have been like less empathetic towards that. And I feel like it's made me a better like educator because they've come to me about their lives. They told me more about them and I get to know more about what's going on. And I think that informed my teaching and how I design courses and
in what way?
You know, like building more flexibility into it. You know, having more drops or honestly not caring so much about some of the deadlines. I do some like rolling deadlines now, which like before I think I would have told you, no, these are hard deadlines. You have to meet deadlines in real life. You have to, right? Like this is why they're hard deadlines. But now I do kind of this rolling deadline system where there is a real deadline, but like the other ones that leading up to it, if you're a day late, whatever, like it's fine, you know? So I think like that's how it's informed some of that. And of course, like the normal stuff where I feel like I try to bring in content that might be interesting, like to the students in my class,
Right.
like in general, within reason, right?
Right,
Like
right.
I do what I can with cell respiration, but you know, it's a tough subject.
We could have another episode where we talk about how I use fermentation of alcohol to make that equation a very interesting thing, right?
Yeah.
Stay
So
tuned.
it's like, you know, in addition to the normal stuff, but I feel like now I have like a greater understanding of what students are going through.
Yeah.
And I think that's really informed like that part of my teaching.
Well, I'm asking this question from a couple of places.
Sure.
One, and this is me not knowing maybe your own academic journey and, you know, what that was like for you, in whatever way. Me being first generation, like one of the reasons why I had that road to Damascus moment was I mentioned to you that at 19, I didn't really have the words to explain everything I was trying to navigate at 19, being first generation, not having the navigational capital, you know, all of the academic terms we use. But then when I was a grad student, and then I'm almost watching like a past version of myself in front of me. Right? I'm watching first generation students doing the thing that I did and not knowing another way because you just there's no way to know that, right? And then the lesson I took from that experience was what an incredible opportunity I have.
Yeah.
To be that person who provides you that capital, that pathway, that encouragement, right? That not that your parents don't love you, not that your family doesn't care about you, but if you're coming from a social situation where that is not available, that is what a university, a really truly loving university can provide, right? And that's why I say I can't do anything else, right? And
I think that's the part of mentoring where I'm like, I get to tell you the secrets. These are like all the secrets that I also didn't know. And I'm also a first generation student. My parents did not go to college. And now I get to tell you all the secrets of how to get into grad school. Like, especially for like students like Angie here who have maybe some research aspirations and like learning for the first time.
Just so people know, when she says maybe, it's me because it's between research and several other great options in neuroscience.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
I don't want to push you towards it. But if you do, like being able to tell you that you can go to grad school for free, like on a tuition waiver, like that's the secret that I want to tell you, that you don't have to pay to get your PhD or master's or you probably will have to pay for med school, but you know, sometimes it happens
all these
though.
days.
Sometimes it happens. But I'm just saying, like, you can get your PhD for free, ish. You know, there's always fees, but you know. So maybe did you just learn that for the first time, Angie? I don't know.
I think she kind of knew. But it's a good segue because I want the audience to hear a bit more about your dreams in neuroscience. I think it's pretty cool.
One of my dreams is to become a neurosurgeon or a neuroscientist. So it depends.
Right.
But yeah, what should I say?
Well, what I like about what you're saying is, and it may not be intentional on your part, but there are different flavors of both of those things you said, right? So a neurosurgeon, you could be pediatric, you could
Yes.
focus on particular diseases, right? Like my dad passed several years ago from Parkinson's, that was an interesting journey learning about that. And neuroscience, oh my goodness, that could be like 19 things, right? So it sounds to me, and correct me if I'm wrong about this, that you're gonna get into the space, you're gonna take the classes, you're gonna do the internship we talked about, and see what moves you.
Yeah.
And when that time comes, when you and I didn't ask you this, if you don't mind sharing, is your family with you in Chicago or back in Bogota?
No, they are with me, like in Chicago.
Okay, okay. And how was the conversation about being a neuroscientist gone?
It was hard
Okay.
because so in my family, we don't have scientists or people who dream to be something like in the science field.
Yeah.
So they weren't. They support me,
Mm-hmm.
but they didn't have like a good expectation of like how I'm gonna be.
Right. What does that look like? And
Yes.
yeah.
So it was hard.
Yeah. And they
Yeah.
don't know what that path looks like.
Yes,
Like you
they
said.
are confused. Like every month they ask me like, "What are you studying?"
This actually reminds me, and maybe you've had a similar conversation. Maybe it's just a first generation
Yeah, I
conversation
did.
where they're like, "What kind of job are you gonna get?"
Right.
with
Oh
that?"
yeah. Oh yeah. My
Do you have a
dad.
job yet? And I was like doing my PhD, and I was like, "This is my job."
Yeah. My dad's version of that was, "You still in school?
Yeah. Yeah,
What
PhD
is
was just school.
What
I was
is
like,
there
"It's
left
also my job?"
to know about these seagrasses?"
Yeah.
A lot, Dad. A lot.
Yeah. What are you gonna do for a job?
I mean, you have to laugh, right? Because now I think we all old enough to kind of understand that's coming from a good place, right?
Yeah.
But you know what you know, right? And I just give my parents a ton of credit. Like they, even though they didn't understand the fine details of things, they just took on faith that if we send you to college, something great will
something
happen that
good,
would take you
yes.
further than we were able to take. And so that trust matters. And this is kind of back to my point about the roles that we as professors and faculty and staff can play for first generation students. We are responding to that trust. Right? We are responding to the trust and the faith that they put in us to create situations so that students like you, well, really all students, right, can come here and see a pathway to something great, even if it's non-linear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think one thing that Arupe really does well, and it's not just like our interactions with students, like as faculty, but we also, and I think we as faculty know about programs and internships, and we do a really good job, I think, of connecting students to those right away. So like, I'm sure you've already talked with Sarah actually about these internships like that occur in
Oh,
the
yeah.
summer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm in
So
one.
like we have these kind of built-in programs that like we have one person whose job is like we call her the jobs lady, but like her job is to get students internships and jobs.
Is that the thing on her door? I'm the jobs lady.
She would probably say yes. It's not on her door, but I think she would call herself the jobs lady. And like I think like there's kind of a universal like language amongst faculty to be like, oh, okay, this summer have you talked with Sarah about like finding an internship, or have you talked with Sarah about like doing this thing, or so we're really good at, I think, trying to connect students to those opportunities that allow them to figure it out.
Yeah.
Right? Because they could do this you could do an internship with Lurie's Health.
I am.
Are you
I
in?
am.
You're in that one.
Yes.
All right. So I was gonna say like, and you could hate it, but like it sounds like you're probably not.
Yeah.
I don't know. Are you hating it? Do you like it?
No, I
What's the
like
deal?
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Like,
And they get to go ahead and explain it. I think.
okay. So each Wednesday,
Uh-huh.
we have like, there are several sites to go into.
So this is like a health center network or something?
Yes,
You said Lurie's Health?
It's down
It's
at
down.
Northwestern.
Okay.
Right over there.
Okay.
There are like, it depends on your interest because there is a business program kind of
Okay.
with the Loyola School, I think. And for example, me, last semester I did in a research department. No, Department of Biology.
Okay.
Research.
Okay.
My fellowship was like, I was doing rotation in some laboratories in Lakeshore campus. So it was amazing.
Yeah. And so this was just on Wednesdays or?
Just Wednesdays.
Okay.
Just Wednesdays.
Nice. Okay.
And now you're
Like-
doing Lurie Children's
Yes.
this Wednesday.
Okay. So awesome.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
Where you get to shadow, right?
Yes.
Different,
Yes.
like, medical folks.
Yeah.
So, like,
And-
nurses and
You're like,
surgeons.
I would like to see a neurosurgeon.
I mean, she
Get out
kind
of
of
my
is.
way.
The thing is, in the hospital right now, I'm doing. I am in the ophthalmology department.
Uh-huh.
So, some Wednesdays I'm in the OR, the operating room. Yes.
So cool.
And sometimes I'm in the clinical side.
Yeah.
So I'm with patients. So it's like amazing.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So I think
Wow.
that's what we're, I think, pretty good at,
Yeah.
too.
Well, so in part of my background reading for this, and it's being played out in how you're describing this, the college has articulated that you try to figure out where students are at, right? And you prepare them for a number of things, and that's it sounds like a simple statement, but it's actually really important because a lot of times some colleges unintentionally many times just thinking about getting you to grad school, getting you to med school, getting you to law school, or getting you to a 4-year institution, right? And then on the other side, some colleges are saying just get you directly to the workforce, right? And then what happens is it sets up this false tension between further education and workforce development, when in fact both are very important. Ultimately, everybody needs employment, but also everybody needs to contribute to the economy, but also everybody should be lifelong thinkers, right? And so we can sort of train for that, right? Without getting into this ridiculous back and forth conversation by embedding all of these different types of opportunities, right? So you intern in a lab, you get a sense of what going to do a advanced degree in neuroscience would look like, right? But you intern in a company, you get a sense of what workplace culture and expectations are. I'm curious. I have two questions, but the first one is maybe I have to believe it's not just a jobs lady who does this, right? But it sounds like there is kind of broader, deeper, wide-ranging conversations about not necessarily just careers, but what's the you of 5, 6, 10 years from now? Like who's having those conversations at a Rupe, where, and what does it sound like? they look at each other inquisitively.
I think some of those conversations are being held by, like, faculty and their advisees. So Angie is not my advisee. But if she were...
Oh, remember, she doesn't like you.
Yeah. Yeah, they're actually
We've
only assigned by whether or not you like your advisor. No. But if she were, I would be having conversations with her kind of more broadly about, like, what is your plan? Like, what would you like to do? What are things that interest you? And then from there, and that's part of that, like, high-touch advising model where you would follow up, based on what she says. So in this case, like, if you had told me neuroscience, I probably would have suggested you do the things that you have actually already done to
Which
help.
means she has a good advice.
Which means your advisor's doing their job.
Yeah.
Which is right.
So I feel like that's part of it. So it's like this faculty advisee relationship. And because we only I usually have on average 20 to 24 advisees at a time. So you can really get to know them as a person, provided they're interested in that, right? They still have to come meet with you and all that good stuff. But, like, I think that's part of it. And then, of course, we also have the people's whose actual job is to set these things up, which I think is super helpful, because then that's not on the faculty to also try to build those relationships.
It's almost like you have a professional advisor and a faculty advisor model.
Right. And then, and then we have our jobs lady who helps kind of like the detail part of that, and then, of course, like, I think in general, as faculty, I'm currently always trying to make connections with other people, right? And if there's opportunities that I think, like, I can connect a Rupe with, like, I'll try to do that. And, so I think, like, that's part of the broader feel. And I also think, like,
no, go on.
Ignatian pedagogy and Jesuits in general, right? Like, this is kind of their jam. Like, this is their whole thing.
Santa Clara.
It's becoming like...
Johnny Carroll. You'll probably have fun at your annual conference, right?
But I think this is, like, their whole thing, right? Like, their whole deal, which I also love, right, is meeting students where they're at, and also, like, I think thinking broadly about your education and not thinking of it as like a means to a job. I think they challenge students in general to think deeper about it, right? And I think that's Jesuit education, right?
But is that something faculty and staff, but probably staff, but faculty like inculcated in? Because some of the conversations you're describing that you're having with the students about, just broadly, what do you think you want to do? Having a PhD in biology doesn't train you to have that conversation, right?
Nope.
So, and my guess is
we didn't have a class on that, Angie.
Right. And my guess is that it's not even just that. It's beyond the training, right? That you understand Chicago, right? Understand the history of the city, the history of segregation, everything up until now. So when you're having these conversations, this can't just be you tell me what you want to do. It's you understand that the person you're talking to lives in a broader socio-political context that will influence how this conversation goes and what they tell you, right?
Yeah.
So where is that education coming from?
Where is it coming from? I feel like some of that comes from just my own research and going towards that, like trying to.
So you've read Boss.
I've read some books.
You've read Boss. You know what that book? That's about Mayor Daley, the first Mayor Daley. Dude, you have to read it.
I should read it.
There's many great books about Chicago history, but that to me, that's my personal favorite.
That's top tier.
Yeah, because it explains Southside, explains Cicero,
But I feel like some of it though is a lot of that. Like I literally had to do my own research. I never lived in Chicago. In 2019 when I moved, I was in North Dakota before that, and then before that, I feel like I did have some understanding because I did kind of grow up in the South and in a part of Florida. I know Florida is very diverse, as you know.
Yeah. Like after all,
there's like three parts of Florida, right? You know this.
Yes.
South Florida is very different from the rural part of Florida that I ended up in, which is definitely more like the Southeast. So it's like I had an inkling.
I may have been near your home. Where were you again?
I grew up outside of Orlando. But in the rural weird parts of Orlando, like basically that part.
Yeah, so like just north of like Palm Bay area.
Yeah, Titusville.
Titusville, yeah. You'll go through Titusville if you get to...
really rural parts.
Yeah, if you take the 503. Sorry to get so specific with geography
This is what Florida people do.
This is what we do, right?
This is what we do. And then I went to Florida State for my bachelor's, and then I spent time at Auburn for my master's. So it's like, I wasn't like... Yeah. Completely North Dakota. We'll just put it that way.
Right.
And so when I moved to Chicago, like I did a lot of reading. I did a lot of my own research about like my student population as well, like trying to figure out like where these students came from, what are the challenges that they face. But I think that was also kind of embedded in the culture of this college. Like I don't know how to
nobody
explain
said it out loud.
Nobody said it out
like
loud, but it was like like it was embedded in there, and along with some of these Jesuit ideals, like meeting students where they're at, like meeting a student where they're at is also understanding like where they came from. Right. Like you can't do that without understanding that piece. And of course, like the broader Loyola institution, they offer like seminars about Jesuit education and stuff like that. So like there's opportunities like at the institutional level, but I feel like it was more, it's hard to explain because I feel like it was embedded, right? Like in the college, and it still is. Right. Like we operate under that.
It speaks a lot about the importance of culture, of institutional culture.
Yeah.
Right. And so a lot of times when I run workshops or give keynotes, the obvious question, well, what do we do? And sometimes it's hard to explain. You have to work on culture, right? Because culture is what drives behavior. Once the culture is there, the things that needs to happen become an expectation and not. It doesn't need sometimes be written down as a law or rule.
I think that's a good way to explain it too.
This is just how we do things here.
And there was never like somebody sat me down and was like, "Oh, you're going to get to know you're going to get to know every student, right? And this is how you're going to do it." It was kind of just expected that I get to know them. Right. And in like a good way, like not in a way that was like, oh my goodness, like this sounds bad, but it's kind of, it's just there. And I feel like I'm hoping that you feel that in some way whenever you like, I don't know, walk into a space.
Well, except the space with you. So
people are going to think Angie.
I know, right? I know.
Got roped into this.
You're going to hear from HR in a couple of weeks. So I don't want to be a downer, right, Angie? And I don't want to assume the worst of your next academic step. But we're describing a very high touch model, right, at this university, and I think I can truthfully say that your next institution probably won't be as high touch. It doesn't necessarily mean. She's like, I already know. But I want to be clear here. I'm not saying that it'll be a bad university, or there'll be bad people, or they're not good at their job. None of that stuff, right? But
It's gonna be different.
one of the critiques or pushbacks people give to the stuff that Aubrey and her wonderful colleagues are doing is that you're not preparing them for the real world where you have to, and I fully disagree with that, because at least in my own teaching, my own classroom, I do teach the way your Professor Sirman has described here. But you can do, and I'll give you another book recommendation, 10 to 25 by David Yeager,
I read that one.
right?
We're good.
High, high expectations, high support, right? So I can give you high support, which is the high touch piece, right? But the high support doesn't mean I'm just giving away A's, right? It doesn't mean I'm just curving everything. It's saying, I understand that right now you need this, right? And my job is to bring out the best light in you, right? But the standard of this class is not shifting. I know you can write like this. I know you can explain cellular respiration back to me. By the way, you have an exam in 2 weeks, Angie. Hope you're ready.
Friday.
2 weeks, my bad. In 4 days. And yet you're here doing a podcast. What kind of student?
I don't know. And she's like,
So all right. I'm straight from my question. I'm trying to maybe have you comment a little bit on. I mean, you're a year in, right? But this is only a 2-year experience. So you'll be getting out there fairly soon. How are you, not to scare you, right? But how are you thinking about your post-Europe life in terms of moving away from this high-touch situation?
To be honest, I'm scared.
Don't be.
It's because, okay, so not in the academic part, but just like the support itself.
Yeah.
I know that professors in the other universities, they are more like they have their distance with the student, like like as Professor Sirman was talking about, like she get to know each student. But I think the other professors, they won't do that. They don't have time, or they just don't care, because some people, some professors, they just go and teach class. That's it. They don't want to know to get to know the student, right? So that's one of my like fears. Yes. Yeah. But besides that, I don't know. I keep relying on like my motivations to keep going, even if it's like hard. Or
what motivates you?
My family, but the fact that I can study. Like, I know I have a lot of privilege, even if I'm like an immigrant without money. I have privilege. So that when I think about that, it's just like, okay, I can keep doing this for all of the people that I know. They can. So, yeah.
Have you ever written that down?
No.
The camera, it can still pick up your whisper.
Nice.
Record it. I'm just saying, right?
I hope
that
so.
was the worst
I hope so.
attempt at silence.
You should write it down, though. Thank you. It will help remind you, like, in those times, too.
I have it in my mind, like.
Yeah.
Yes.
But there is, I know, well, we know there's, like, scientific evidence that, like, when you write something down.
Oh, yeah, I know.
It really.
It rearrests the
It
psychological
lodges in
reality.
your brain.
Yeah.
That's my way to study.
Yeah.
I'm very big on those study skills, so.
Do you get to go back to Bogota at all?
No. No, I miss Bogota. I don't know when I will be able to go there again. So. Are
you able to get Colombian food? Well, I mean, obviously at home, right? But is there
It's not the same. It's
really?
not the same. Yeah. In Colombia, as you might know, food is more like organic in a sense.
Which, by the way, is a term I only learned when I moved to the U.S.
Yep.
We just called it food.
Yep.
Yes.
We're like, what is all? So that's a thing, like, yeah. Anyway, I get it now, but it was just funny.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
it just
the
tastes
yeah,
different.
yeah.
flavor, yes,
yeah.
the texture, everything is like different. So
Yeah.
there are a lot of Colombian restaurants,
Mm-hmm.
and you can order some food that
Yeah.
you might know, but it's not the same. It doesn't
Yeah,
taste the
yeah.
same. So it's just like
It's hard to get it, yeah.
Yes.
I will say, if you ever make it to Miami,
Yeah.
the sancocho is on point.
Oh, okay.
That's my favorite Colombian dish.
el sancocho.
Sancocho, yeah.
South
should
Florida
try.
is really,
Yeah.
it's really good.
And climate-wise, right? It's easier to get the ingredients, and so many Colombian people coming back and forth and stuff. But
So if,
Yeah.
if you're ever at a future conference in South Florida, you can remember.
Okay.
yeah,
And-
definitely. And I'll tell you my favorite spots too. And yeah, it's
Yeah. Good.
So to add on to the, what happens after, right? Like after Rupe, you lose the support potentially. You're not, I feel like we also do try to mitigate some of that by teaching students how to advocate for themselves and reach out. And I
agency,
think
right?
Angie
Yeah.
does actually a great job
Yeah.
of this.
It's my anxiety.
Whatever it takes. But Angie does a great job of this because you went out and you wanted to volunteer with Northwestern and you were kind of advocating for that experience for yourself. You definitely reach out to me when you are struggling, and that is something you can also take
right.
to these professors that you'll have at your next institution, wherever that is. Because, for example, in that 400-person class that I had to teach, I said that oftentimes I didn't get to know students. And it's not because I didn't want to, but it's because there was 400 of them.
Yeah.
But if a student
Yeah.
had emailed me specifically, or like came up to meet
Yeah.
with me
Yeah.
after class,
Yeah.
then I would get to know you.
So once they showed agency, you
Exactly. And that's a lot easier.
Yeah.
And so, like Brian was saying, it's going to be different
yeah.
for sure, but you can still foster those relationships. And I think like that's what we hope to teach you at Arupe.
Yeah.
Is that like initially we're doing a lot of the legwork
Yeah.
in the fostering of the relationship, but we're hoping
Yeah.
that you can take those skills
Well,
to
and
your
I-
next institution.
And I just want to make a quick point on that is that, we talk a lot about being first generation. All three of us are that, and what that means in terms of when you get to college. But I also think that for any student, even continuing generation 4 or 5 generations of college, things like what you just described, like nobody writes that down. Like
No.
what
It's not in the
college
student
manual
manual.
will say we're gonna teach you. I mean, it might say it in that flowery like Super Bowl commercial kind of way, but it's a real thing. It's a real thing at this stage of your life to learn what it means to advocate for yourself respectfully, to understand systems, to, to be critical of power structures, not just for criticizing's sake, but to follow through on an argument and have people be accountable when they have power over you. Like, these are real skills that are crucial, right?
Yeah.
But you will hardly find that on a syllabus, and
It's not in your student manual.
I want to first of all, Angie, I want to say thanks again. I'm really happy you're here.
Oh,
and
thank you.
I love your energy, your smile, like you just the enthusiasm you brought to this conversation. And I wonder if it's okay with you, have you close us off with a question I'm going to ask you.
Okay.
And this question is a question that I ask my I teach intro bio. I teach the first semester of a 2-semester series. I ask them this question as the last assignment question before they take their final. Like, not the day of. But,
Okay.
but like,
And it's on cellular respiration.
I
Just kidding.
and I took it from a scientific study, which we don't have to talk about, but it's called Letter to a Future First Year Student. Right?
Okay.
And the prompt I asked them, which is what I'm asking you, is to write a letter to a hypothetical future first year student. And based on your experiences as a first semester, I guess now as a semester and a half student, think of all the successes you've had and the challenges you've had. If you went back in time, so let me just kind of amend the question a little bit. If you went back in time and met Angie on August 15th or whenever the first day of classes, and you had to advise Angie, you know, here are the things you want to do to be really successful. Here's what to avoid. Here's how you manage yourself. Here's how you set yourself up to maximize these 2 years. What would you say?
I love these questions. I would say that you shouldn't be scared of asking.
Mm-hmm.
I know some questions can be like hard to ask, but just don't be like scared. Or if you're scared, do it, but like just do it.
Do it anyway.
Yes, it doesn't matter. And that you can always rely on other people. Like, don't be scared to ask for help if you need it. Or...
And by other people, you mean classmates and faculty and staff? Or
Yes.
specifically anybody?
Anybody that you can trust. That you can feel like, oh, this person can understand a little bit about me.
Yeah.
And I would say that even if it's hard, don't just quit. Like, you can try again and again. And yeah, don't be like close-minded. Yes, and don't judge.
Tell me more about those last two close-minded. Tell me more about the don't be close-minded and don't judge. Like where is that coming from?
Because it's more of cultural things that you know, you grow up with some opinions, and then you meet other than see. So it's just like, don't judge. Like you can be empathic. What's the word? Empathic.
Empathic? Yeah.
Empathetic
with other people. And see, like everyone has just different lives.
Right.
So
I loved how you threw in a C in the middle of your sentence. I heard it. Just so you know. I heard it. Angie, Aubrey, thank you so much for taking time. Just so you all know, they have class in like 30 minutes.
35. I already pre-prepped.
I was able to snag them. I'm on Aubrey College's campus, and I was able to get some time with them. This was really this was lively and it was energizing. Thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting me.
Knowledge Unbound is brought to you by the Rios Institute for Racially Just, Inclusive, Open STEM Education. We are generously funded by the William and Flora Hewlett Foundation. Special thank you to our guest from Aubrey College, Dr. Aubrey Sirman. Thank you to her wonderful student, Angie Catalina Aguilar, for sharing her story and everything she said about her time at Aubrey College. Thank you to our assistant producer, Mr. Benjamin Pasternak, and our producer, Mr. Segev Amasai. Segev, thoughts?
You know, it's very rare to see professors bringing in their students for those kinds of interviews, because I know you've mainly interviewed professors over the course of the podcast, but it's always interesting seeing a student's
Well, what's interesting about it? I mean, like, what's the thing that made it more interesting to you?
Mainly her talking about how she was eased into, the college life through Dr. Sherman's work.
Yeah.
For one. And it's not really something that I've gotten to experience. When I listened to it, I was like, wow.
Okay,
I think I would have enjoyed that.
That's a little sad, though. That you haven't gotten to experience that.
Well, I started here during COVID. That's the thing. I was still in Haiti.
Okay.
I was still on Zoom back then.
I got you.
Very isolating.
That makes sense. I guess what I was concerned about is that our university didn't do a good job of looking out for you in that way, right? And who knows? We're not perfect, but at the same time, COVID was a kind of a different beast. I think. For me, it's the big goal of this podcast is to elevate people who are doing really transformative things in education, right? And I think we've been fairly successful in that. But I do want people to not forget that those transformative things ultimately impact the lives of students and of people. So when we have an opportunity like we did in today's episode to bring the voice of somebody who was impacted by those decisions, it really means a lot. So I just, again, want to thank both of them for sharing this story. And maybe it's a reminder for myself, for all of us, for you who's listening, that, when we go out there and design our lesson plans, when we make decisions about our teaching choices, that there's somebody on the other end who, in theory, we want to make their lives and living and their choices better. Have a good week, everyone. Hope you enjoyed this week. See you next week. Please be excellent to each other.
I think Arupe students in general are really awesome about just telling you what's going on. And I think before, as an educator with those 300 students, if a student had emailed me needing flexibility, I'm not saying I wouldn't have given it, but I'm saying I might have been less empathetic towards that. And I feel like it's made me a better educator, because they've come to me about their lives. They told me more about them, and I get to know more about what's going on. And I think that informed my teaching.